It's a beautiful day at the very beginning of the spring. Soon I will have a nice and flavorful meal, and then I will go for a walk to enjoy the beauty of the world that is waking to life after winter. Seems like life is good, right? Well, not exactly, but that's from my own fault. I decided, again, to play the newest patch in World of Warcraft, and I also decided to write about it, again. I don't have the slightest idea when this madness will end, but since I'm doing it, I might as well do it right. I don't wanna sound overly dramatic, but maybe I will save someone a time with this video, so they don't have to check it out for themselves. Anyways, let's get on with the show. Starting with a story, and boy oh boy, this will be a short one, because the whole damn patch is just one big side quest. What the hell were writers thinking? I for sure don't know, but they must be even more crazy than I am. We only got some minor hints to supplement the story already told in The War Within, but we do not get anything of a substance that would push narrative forward in a meaningful way. We got only teasers for the things yet to come in the future, which I can only compare to cheap cliffhangers in not so good TV shows. I am utterly disappointed and I want my money back. I feel cheated out of gold that I bought a game token with for the month of gameplay, but also I want that month of my life back. Maybe I'm joking, but when I really start to think about it, it's suddenly not so funny anymore. From the things that stood out in this patch storytelling, Khadgar on arcane wheelchair seems really inappropriate, to be honest. I was shocked that they thought it would be a good idea. Maybe even worse is the fact that they still follow the trend in which, instead of heroes, we got wimps who constantly complain, cry and say we need to change our ways. Bloody hell, I have had enough of that crap in the last, I don't know, several years. Okay, let's just drop it. The story here is cooked and I'm talking boiled with no salt or anything else that would give it any taste whatsoever. Fortunately, people responsible for gameplay are somewhat more competent, which boils down, pun intended, to not screwing up what's good and experiment with some things along the way. It has still very pleasant gameplay most of the time. It calms me down, well, except when I play caster and melee players rush the dungeon, that I do not enjoy. What I enjoyed even less was the new mount exclusive to drive only in the new Undermined zone, and it should stay there because it really sucks. It drives nothing like a real car, or even a well-made car in a video game. It is clunky and annoying, so I was very fast to drop it in favor of my old and slow mount collection. So with a new patch we got to play new quests, but still, when we are limited by the amount of quests we can have at any given time, I was still forced to do the annoying thing of cancelling some of my old quests that I didn't finish. What I wanted the most when it comes to gameplay was to give us easy access to PvP, both unranked and ranked. It got better only in one way: the basic item level, or power level if you will, with no PvP gear got increased, so you're not gonna get crashed so much as previously. But still, you need to grind for the dedicated PvP item set in order to play ranked in solo queues. This needs to change, the sooner the better. But what about PvE, I hear you asking? Well, not much. New raid is fine in outer sections, nothing balls teasing, but it's alright. However, the inner casino part is too colorful and even on dimmed picture it made me feel bad playing it. First time I experienced something like this in video game. It was feeling similar to that when you get just before you are very ill. Something with a mix of colors and music is just wrong for me. However, the worst part of gameplay is the same as it was for years now, and anyone who is playing many alts will know that for sure. The most rewarding way to play is to do all the weekly activities that have the biggest rewards. It prevents me from doing some side quests that I would be more interested in, because I know I need the gear in order to participate in activities that have item level requirements. I would rather see a weekly quest to do 5 or 10 side quests for the chests with loot. Bloody hell, so much side content wasted because of how game is structured. On the plus side is that we got some changes in talent trees, and it's always fun for me to recalibrate all of my characters to play more effectively in combat, because, as I mentioned in one of my videos, the best time that I have in World of Warcraft is when I need to set up my macros and interface in order to do big damage in fights. Fighting for those damage meter positions in LFR is always somehow fun for me, call me crazy. I also liked the new mechanized aesthetics in some armor sets and weapons. However, let's touch the patch on the technical side. Updating the game is still messed up, in regards that it downloads very slowly at times. Annoying if you have limited time to play. Undermined visually must be the biggest undertaking in history of Blizzard's graphical department. The amount of detail everywhere is over 9,000. Animations, especially in faces, keep on improving, that's a good sign. Noticeable big change is that ground indicators in fights are way more visible now at the cost of subtlety, but overall I think it is a change for the better. Gameplay is more important than visuals during combat. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but there is also sound side of things, where there is simply too much saxophone in music for this patch. Don't get me wrong, I like the instrument itself, but combined with goblins it just makes me sick into my core. It just feels wrong somehow. Voice acting is still very good after all these years. Thanks to all the great voice actors, they do a great job conveying emotions, even if the source material is not of the highest quality. Still, new patch means new bugs or the return of the old ones. Undermined zone was very laggy at first day of the update, and the second day, and third. And it still is, if too many people are in the zone at any given time. It's like I said to my friend, the engine is tripping on itself and it's unlikely to get better in foreseeable future. At least Blizzard managed to fix some minor bugs in decent time frame this time around. I decided to leave this to the end for those really interested. Some illogical and even scumbaggery things that developers do to the player base. I forgot to mention this several times by now, but for some years Blizzard is trying to scam players from their gold by adding very expensive and useless items to vendors. This time it is at Innkeeper at Intercontinental Hotel. Any smart player won't buy it, but some casual one by some chance will, and bye 100k gold. Of which he can only get back 25k if the item is not used yet. There is way more items like this put in the game on the timeline of several years. What a dick thing to do, shame on Blizzard. There is still huge gap between normal dungeon gear and heroic one. You need to farm world content and delves in order to get into heroic dungeons and raids, not to mention ranked PvP item level requirements. And to think, back in the days, PvP was my favorite activity. Nowadays I only test it if it was improved in the newest patch, just to be saddened by the fact that it's still in the gutter. So what's the conclusion after a month spent in the newest addition to the never-ending saga of World of Warcraft? It can only be this. It is not worth the time of both old fans and new players alike. I do not see any redeeming qualities here. It's a meme of a patch with goblins and shenanigans instead of promised interesting storylines and improved gameplay. With every showing like this one, I am one step closer to throwing the game into the abyss of quote-unquote will not play this ever again. But being an old fool like myself, I do not really know how many steps more there are in order to get there. But until then, I will suffer the misery alongside with my WoW brothers and sisters. And I will see you in another, somewhat sad video essay.